This program is provided by Universal Genesis.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are strapping ourselves into what might be the world's very first serious, large-scale research apparatus. We're not just reading a dusty old scroll, we're trying to enter the Lyceum, the philosophical powerhouse founded by Aristotle.
That's right. And for centuries, we've looked at Aristotle as this, brilliant but distant metaphysician, always arguing about forms and substances.
Right.
Today, we're changing the lens entirely. We're viewing him as the world's first chief librarian.
A research director.
And the inventor of the classification system for, made all of Western thought.
And this whole deep dive was sparked by a beautifully simple yet really powerful question that came from you, the listener. It was this. If Aristotle ran the world's first serious research library, is it possible that his most foundational text, the Categories—
the one that supposedly lists the 10 basic ways reality can be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is it possible that text is actually just a detailed operations manual for his library staff, like a simple guide on how to process incoming documents?
It sounds like a stretch, I know, but it's an incredibly plausible hypothesis.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it overturns 2,000 years of consensus, but when you think about Aristotle's actual job—
what he did day to day.
Exactly. The fact that he built this enormous library, a museum, a research center, he was managing thousands of texts with assistants. He had this intense practical need for information management. He wasn't just thinking about the heavens, he was worried about filing scrolls.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if you're a learner trying to grasp a new field, you need structure.
You need a system.
We use databases, spreadsheets, metadata tags, and Aristotle's categories, things like substance, quality, quantity, place, time. They don't sound like these abstract concepts for a debate.
No.
They sound strikingly practical, like fields on an instruction sheet just waiting to be filled out.
Absolutely. And we often forget the scale of his ambition. He was collecting every constitution he could find, all 158 of them.
Wow.
He was compiling huge amounts of anatomical data, biological observations, historical records. To manage that influx of material, you need organization, you need classification, you need indexing.
Tools for librarians.
He wasn't just a philosopher. He was the giant curator of the Lyceum's incredible collection.
So let's test the theory then. Let's map the 10 categories directly onto, say, modern library classification.
Database metadata fields.
Yeah. How well does it hold up? Let's imagine we're in the Lyceum, stamping labels onto the Pinex, little wooden tags of a new scroll.
Let's do it. It's an exercise in practical philosophy.
Okay, so we start with substance.
Yeah.
That's the core of the matter.
It has to be. This determines the scroll's subject, its theme. So its main location.
Is it natural science? Is it ethics?
And that gets the scroll onto the correct large shelf, the main section.
Okay, so once you've established the subject, you need more detail. That's where quantity and quality come in.
Exactly. Quantity, that's the easy one. It translates perfectly to the physical form.
Volume count, scroll length, page count.
Yep. And quality defines the nature of the content within that subject. Is this scroll a detailed history, a botanical observation guide, a theoretical treatise on logic?
So that tells you the specific section within the main shelf.
You got it.
That makes perfect sense. So once you have the book and its content defined, you need to know who it's connected to. And that leads us to relation.
Who is this book about?
Right.
Or who is it by?
So we're tagging the author, maybe the editor, or the school of thought it supports or argues against.
Right, which is critical for cross-referencing.
And of course, location and sequence matter intensely in a library. So this is place and time.
Where was the research done? Where should it sit on the shelf relative to other scrolls on the same topic? When was it written?
Or what historical era it covers. These are basically your location and chronological tags.
Perfect.
Okay, here's where it can get a little abstract, so let's be precise. The final four. What about the physical condition and usage tags? State and possession.
State is purely the physical status of the scroll itself. Is this a complete manuscript?
Or a fragment that needs repair.
Is it written in fine script or just, ref notes? And possession, that's just inventory. Is it part of the main Lyceum collection, a temporary loan, a special donation?
These are practical asset management fields.
100%.
And finally, action and passion. These are often read so philosophically, but they simplify really beautifully as classification tools, don't they?
They really do. Action would just describe what the book does.
Is it explaining a theory? Is it classifying species?
Or issuing a decree, yeah. And passion describes what happens to the scroll, or the data in it.
Like Was it heavily edited?
Was it copied from another text? Does it have annotations from someone else? These tags define the scroll's history and how you're supposed to use it in your research.
What's fascinating here is that every single one of those 10 terms works perfectly as a practical library reference sheet.
A template, yeah.
Aristotle wasn't writing some opaque philosophy. He was building an organizational infrastructure to handle the massive scale of data pouring into the Lyceum. He was inventing information science.
And that infrastructure is what allowed him to scale his research exponentially.
But this brings us to the central, most powerful insight, the thing that your curiosity really unlocked. For over 2,000 years, from the late Greeks through the medieval scholastics, the thinkers who built the first universities on Aristotle's back.
Right.
The tradition has viewed these 10 categories as a flat parallel list. Just 10 equal slices of existence.
They treated them like 10 boxes you could tick side by side. They focused on substance, sure, but the others were just incidental properties.
But help me understand why that reading fails the practical test. If you're a librarian, why can't you treat quantity and place as parallel categories?
Because if you have thousands of scrolls coming in, you just can't file them efficiently unless you have a priority.
A workflow.
Imagine trying to organize, I don't know, tens of thousands of baseball cards. You wouldn't start by sorting by card condition, which is state, before you've even figured out the player or team.
A substance.
Exactly. You need a logical step-by-step process, a descending hierarchy. The flat reading is fine for an abstract thought experiment, but it's totally unusable for real-world operations.
So the big breakthrough is realizing this text is not a list of 10 things, but a classification procedure.
An algorithm.
And it's only when you read the categories in that precise sequence that it makes sense as a library workflow.
Precisely. That's the aha moment. It potentially overturns millennia of philosophical interpretation. The sequence itself is the key.
Okay, let's unveil this algorithm. A new scroll arrives. How does Aristotle's staff process it using these hierarchical tiers?
Okay, tier 1, the largest classification bucket, must always be substance. Is the scroll about living things, politics, math, rhetoric?
That decides the main wing of the library.
Right. If you misclassify the substance, nothing else matters. You've lost it.
Once that's locked in, we move to tier 2, quantity and quality.
Correct. So we're in the natural science wing. Now we use quantity and quality to place it in the right section. Is it a massive tome of detailed animal dissections?
That's quantity.
Or is it a small treatise focusing on the quality of virtue in political regimes?
That's quality. Okay.
It narrows the focus dramatically.
Tier 3 brings us to relational indexing. Relation.
This is how we arrange the scrolls within that focus section. Is it arranged by school of thought, by author, by topic comparison? Relation is what links this scroll to others in the same area.
Without a clear relation tag, the scroll is just floating.
It's lost in the subject matter, yeah.
And tiers 4 and 5 handle the logistics. Place, time, state, and possession.
These are the final filters. Place and time give us sequencing, which shelf, which era. State and possession are the final physical details for inventory checks, maintenance.
Does it need to be copied? Is it a priority because it's complete?
That's the micro-level filing.
And the final tier, action and passion, which tells the user what they're looking at.
It creates the complete data profile. The whole process descends logically from the biggest category, substance, right down to the finest details.
It's the only practical way to run a large library.
Aristotle literally invented database taxonomy.
He invented the operational system, and this realization lets us see how the categories were only stage 1 of his research strategy.
Right.
Aristotle's genius was his two-stage engine for inquiry.
Stage 1 is the categories, the information map. It's how we sort and organize all the raw data, the texts that come in. It creates the whole landscape of knowledge.
And stage 2 is the analysis phase. That's where the famous 4 causes come in.
Yes. So the categories handle the outside, the logistics of the knowledge, and the 4 causes handle the inside, the deep analytical framework you apply to any given thing.
Okay, so just remind us of those 4 causes.
They're the microscope he used. They're just straightforward questions. The material cause. What is it made of? The formal cause. What is its structure or definition? The efficient cause. What external force made it? And the final cause. What is its purpose, its aim, its goal?
So if I'm tracking this, the real power of this two-stage engine is its universality. He didn't invent a separate method for biology and another one for politics.
Not at all. He applied the exact same workflow to everything.
Okay, give me an example.
Think about his political science research. First, he classified 158 regimes using the categories. He tagged the time, the place, the quality of the constitution, the relationship between leaders.
That's the information map, stage 1.
Then he would take one specific regime, let's say the Spartan constitution, and apply the 4 causes to understand its essence.
Stage 2.
Exactly. He'd ask, what is its material cause? The
Right.
population, the land, the resources. What is its formal cause? The specific laws that give it shape. What was the efficient cause? The founder, like Kyrgyz, the events that created it. And most importantly, what is its final cause? Its aim. Stability, war, virtue.
This 2-stage process explains why his work covered such an astronomical range of topics with such consistency.
It's a universal engine.
Now, connecting this across history, we see this model perfected by Avicenna, Ibn Sina, centuries later. He inherited this system and applied it to maybe the most complex problem of all, the human body and disease.
Avicenna's canon of medicine is a flawless demonstration of the 2-stage engine. When he saw a patient, he used the categories like a hospital charting system.
So he classified the symptoms.
The patient's history, the location of the pain that's placed, the patient's constitution, quality and quantity, and the relationship to known diseases. Relation. He structured the input data.
So that's stage 1, organizing the chaos of symptoms into a legible map.
Then, for diagnosis stage 2, he deployed the 4 causes.
Right.
If someone was ill, he'd ask, what is the material cause of this illness? An imbalance of humors, a faulty organ. What is the efficient cause? A trauma, an infection, some external agent.
It's a rigorous, step-by-step investigation.
And that's why his medical system dominated for centuries. It was based on Aristotle's perfected research procedure.
So that's the operational system. But there's always the philosophical climax, isn't there? The ultimate boundary.
Yeah.
Aristotle sought the absolute 0 point, the unmoved mover, the first cause.
And this is where we have to draw a really clear line between the practical tools categories and 4 causes and the logical requirement.
What do you mean?
The unmoved mover is a meta-cause. It's the philosophical stop sign that prevents the chain of causes from going back in time forever and ever.
But wait, if it's the first cause, shouldn't it be the ultimate efficient cause, the thing that actively kicks off the whole chain?
Logically, you would think so. But Aristotle defines the unmoved mover as something that, crucially, doesn't move, doesn't act, and doesn't change. It establishes the framework, the hardware architecture, that allows the 4 causes to operate, but it's not an active participant. Think of it like defining the laws of physics before you start an experiment. The laws are necessary for the experiment to run, but they aren't the results of the experiment.
So here's the crucial point then, that separates the theory from the practical work.
Yes.
Aristotle never actually had to refer back to the unmoved mover when he was classifying animals or analyzing political constitutions.
Never. It was necessary to close the system logically, to satisfy the metaphysician in him, but it was practically unnecessary for any scientific advancement or library classification. He did his daily, monumental work, using only the categories and the 4 causes.
Which leads us to that final, profound description of this philosophical 0 point.
That the unmoved mover was actually the unnecessary being for science.
What?
And Avicenna, the pragmatist, seems to have recognized this perfectly. He needed a slot for it in his system, so he just labeled it God, the necessary being, and then he moved on. He dedicated his life's work to the categories and the 4 causes, the tools that actually cured patients and advanced knowledge.
It highlights this deep separation between Aristotle's theoretical metaphysics and his pragmatic scientific method.
Absolutely.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? We started with a librarian, and we've ended up with a complete, enduring model for scientific inquiry.
I think we've distilled 3 key takeaways that really redefine Aristotle.
Okay.
First, he was a systematic librarian who used the 10 categories as a hierarchical database structure for organizing all incoming knowledge. Second, he paired this with the 4 causes as his universal analytical tool, creating that powerful 2-stage research engine.
And third,
The ultimate first cause, the unmoved mover, was a logical system boundary. It was a placeholder, necessary to close the philosophical loop, but practically irrelevant to the actual work of advancing science.
and the staggering thing is how relevant that is today. Every modern scientific discipline still follows this workflow.
We do. We use metadata, databases, taxonomies to sort our input. That's the categories. And then we apply structural analysis, causal modeling, root cause investigation. That's the 4 causes.
Aristotle truly invented the basic operating system of science 2,300 years ago.
And we are still running on his software.
So if we connect this back to the bigger picture, it raises an important question for you, the learner, to carry forward. If Aristotle and Avicenna, operating in their own time, considered the ultimate first cause to be an unnecessary being for advancing their practical science.
A logical placeholder that they didn't need to touch to solve real-world problems.
What modern philosophical assumptions or systems do we cling to today that are similarly unnecessary for our own practical advancement and our daily work?
Something to mull over while you sort your own information map.
Until next time, keep digging.
This program is provided by Universal Genesis.